Hello and welcome. We're glad that you're able to join us for our community prayer time. We are presently not gathering in our Dayspring Chapel until it is safe to do so. Yet we continue to pray together from different places. We have begun the liturgical season of Lent, 40 days in the Christian calendar that begins on Ash Wednesday and takes us into Holy Week and finally to Easter. Traditionally, Lent is a time of preparing our hearts for the resurrection through self-reflection, generosity, prayer, and simplicity. Here at Daybreak, we will focus our Lenten reflections on God's hidden work. This has been a challenging year for many of us, and like the dark days and the cover of snow, it is hard to imagine that something is happening beneath the earth that will spring forth new life in just a few weeks. It is our trust in this cyclical rhythm of the seasons and in the faithfulness of God that keeps us living in hope that there is growing happening even though we may not see it. This is God's hidden work. We traditionally begin our gatherings by remembering members of our community, our family and friends, who are no longer with us, but continue to be present with us as our community of saints. Now, I invite you to take a moment to allow the bell to call us to prayer. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning. Praise for the springing, fresh from the word. Sweet the rains do fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
So we all know that Jesus was really always excited to tell people about God and about how much God loved them and wanted to be close to them. And he often used stories to do that. And of course, in this story that Jason just read for us, he tells about a farmer going out to plant seeds to grow some food. And we hear in this story about how some of the seed that the farmer planted fell on some ground and the birds came and ate up that seed. And then some of the seed fell on rocky ground over here, and there wasn't very much soil. So the seeds grew a little bit, but when the sun came out, all the plants withered away and died. And some seed fell in some ground where there's some weeds. And so when it started to grow, the plant was choked out by the weeds. But some seed fell on really good soil, and it was able to send down its roots and grow really good plants, and it produced a really amazing harvest. So there's a couple of different ways of trying to understand what Jesus is telling us. Maybe what he's trying to say is that the good news of God's love for us is really wonderful, but sometimes it's not so easy to hear that good news or to let it into our lives. I don't know about you, but I find it hard to trust sometimes that I'm loved by God and by others. And we can all get distracted by many things in our lives, or we don't see or feel how God is present to us. And certainly, I think it's true in community life and it's true in family and friendships. We can have difficulty in our relationships and with one another, and we can end up feeling sad or angry or confused. And so it can feel like maybe our lives can be like the soil that's rocky, or maybe like the birds come along and eat up the good news of God's love, or maybe it gets choked out by the weeds. So that's one way of looking at the story. But I think there's also another way to look at this story. And that's to focus on who the farmer is, who God is in this story. Because Jesus says that the seed that falls on good soil produces a harvest that is 30, 60, or 100 times what was planted. Now, the people that were listening to Jesus would have been utterly amazed by this number, because a normal yield would have been maybe 10 times what was planted. So what's Jesus trying to tell us? Maybe his point is that the farmer, God, will sow the abundance of God's love in our lives. And this love will bring about a harvest beyond our imagining. So, yes, it might be true that we have all those different kinds of soil in our lives that don't produce much harvest. But in fact, there's enough seed sown by God that we shouldn't be distracted by the seed that doesn't grow. The invitation, I think, of this story is to trust that whatever seed falls on the good soil in our lives will, in fact, produce an abundant harvest, because that's the work of God. God delights to plant the word of life in you and me so that it sends down good roots and produces a harvest that will surprise and astonish us. So I wonder if the story doesn't invite us then to trust and keep focused on the amazing, gracious, and abundance that is the gift of God. So Daryl Dixon,
Yeah.
I'm really happy that we can talk a little bit together. And
Yeah.
you remember that Liska's already reviewed this for us, but we've been talking about the different ways that God's life is hidden from us and how the seed gets planted and grows. And we wanted to just look for a little bit. Do you remember when a seed first breaks open, what's the first thing that grows from this picture? What can we see? What's this little thing here?
Seed.
That's the seed. And what's growing out of the seed? What's this white thing?
No.
That's the root. That's the
Root.
first thing that grows when a seed breaks open in the ground. And you can see from this picture that we've been looking at all through Lent how the roots grow and how they allow the plant to grow. And so today we want to think about roots and how important they are. And I've done a little drawing here, and you have to excuse my artwork, but Daryl, we talked about how roots are really important for plants for two reasons. And the first reason is because they give the plant what? They give the plant, what's this here in my very primitive drawing?
Water.
Water. And do you know what that is? It's supposed to be a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
I don't know if it looks like that. So the roots give the plant nourishment, and they help the plant to grow, right? That's one of the main things that roots do. And then the other thing that roots do is they anchor the plant in the ground. So we could say that roots help the plants to be at home. So they anchor the plant and they give the plant nourishment. So we want to keep those ideas in our mind. So Daryl, we want to talk about your life, and we thought we could share a little bit about the roots of your life, about how you came to Daybreak and how you were rooted in community life. And one of the things that I always love, Daryl, to hear is when you pray, you have a phrase that you say oftentimes. And do you remember what that is? You say, I love my life.
I love myself. I love life to Daybreak. I love it here.
Yeah.
I stay here longer.
Yeah. So you say, I love my life. I love it here. I want to stay here longer. Sometimes you say, I want to stay here forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a really beautiful thing that you say about your life and how you're really well rooted here and you want to stay rooted here. And I think that you just had your Daybreak anniversary, didn't you?
Yeah.
And when was that?
Very.
And how many years ago did you come to Daybreak?
17 years.
17 years ago. So you're getting to be one of the elders of the community, Daryl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember when you first came, who were some of the people? Oh, sorry. Before you came to Brookwood, you were working where?
Working is craft studio.
That's right. You were working at the craft studio. And there's one of your beautiful paintings from the craft studio. And then when you moved into Brookwood House, who were some of the people that you lived with?
My friend Seafood, my good brother.
Yeah. And who were some of the other people that you lived with?
Seafood, my good brother, and my friend Peggy.
Yes. Peggy and Sifu, and there was some other people there, I think, that we talked about.
St. George,
Nelis.
and my friend and Todd, she is
Yeah.
my house leader, welcome me.
Yeah. So there was lots of different people that you lived with. And Daryl, what I remember was when we welcomed you, it was kind of a difficult time for us at Brookwood House. Do you remember why that was?
David and Greg,
That's right. So David Gray had just died.
I know him a lot time.
Yeah, you knew David. And
Yeah.
David Gray
And
just died.
my mom too.
Yeah. So David had just died a couple weeks before you came to Brookwood. And so we
Right.
were feeling a bit sad, right? We were really happy to welcome you, but we were feeling a bit sad. But
Yeah.
I remember that you just kind of threw yourself into life at Brookwood and threw yourself into developing relationships and routines for yourself. And you were really enthusiastic. You really wanted to be there. You really wanted to be at daybreak. Do you remember some of the things that you did that helped you to be well rooted in the house? Some of your routines?
Peggy and St. George, my good friend, welcome me all my life.
Right. But
My friend and Todd, she is my house leader.
that's right. What were some of the things that you did that helped you develop routines, Daryl? What did you do with at breakfast every morning?
You have coffee with Peggy and George.
So you did this on your own. You decided that you would take coffee to Thelis and Peggy every morning,
Right.
and give them coffee. And what did you call them?
Gorgeous girls.
You called them your gorgeous girls.
Yeah.
And what did they call you?
Handsome winter.
They called you the handsome waiter. That's right.
Yeah.
So it was a lovely way that you decided that you could get to know them better, right?
Right.
And they got to know you better. And it was a way that you you were helpful to them, right?
Right.
Yeah. And it wasn't easy for you to get to know Thelis, right?
Right.
It was kind of hard at first. Do you remember that part?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thelis, I think, was still feeling a bit sad about David. And,
right.
And sometimes she wasn't very nice to you.
My friend St. George, me to me, I came.
Yeah, when you came, yeah. But that little routine that you had of giving coffee every morning,
right?
After a while, Thelis grew really to love you, right?
Right.
And you to love her. And
right.
it kind of healed your relationship. And you became good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you discovered through that sometimes when we have a difficult relationship with someone, if we do something kind for them, it can help the relationship to get better. And that's certainly what happened with you and Thelis. And if I remember correctly, Daryl, you started right away, you love to pray around the table at night because you're a man of deep prayer. You love to pray.
Right.
And you told us it was really important for you to keep going to your church because that was an important part of your life.
Right.
Do you remember some of the other things that were part of your routines?
Where my friend Mary Schneider.
Mary Schneider was living there.
I picture her.
Yeah. You became good
friends.
Sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
Please see my friend maybe another
Yeah,
picture.
you'd like to see her again.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, maybe people in the house can help you contact her.
yeah.
Yeah. But you started to cook, Daryl, on what night?
Thursday
Thursday.
is my cooking spaghetti,
You make spaghetti on Thursday nights.
right?
And I remember you started to do your laundry and clean your room,
Right,
and you kept up your work at the craft studio, and you started to work at the woodery. So
right,
you had a real good routine and rhythm of life, right? And
right.
that was important for you. And I remember, Daryl, so your birthday's in June.
Yeah.
That first,
June is my June 26th.
Valentine's.
do you remember that first birthday that you had? We asked you how you wanted to celebrate it.
Yeah,
And what did you tell us? What did you want to do?
nice things for me.
Nice. And what was one of your nice things that you wanted to do?
I passed that candle.
That's right. We passed the candle, but we did something with music and dancing. What was that?
First loose,
Footloose.
right?
So you told us that you wanted to play Footloose and dance to that, and everybody had to get up and dance and follow your moves, right?
Right,
And you brought an incredible lightness to the house, Daryl. And I remember that night because we had so much fun dancing with you at your birthday party. And that
right,
became a tradition on your birthday that we would all get up and dance to Footloose. And
right,
it was just really, really a lot of fun. And we discovered that you love to have fun and to celebrate. So, Daryl, I think that as we've been sharing about your life, there's a number of things that I can think of that have helped you to be well rooted when you came, but also to stay well rooted in community life. I think this lovely phrase that you often pray over and over again, I love my life, I want to stay here. I think this is really a gift that God has given you because you keep choosing your life over and over again. And I think it's a good reminder for all of us. That's a way to keep well rooted. And your friendships are really important to you, right?
right.
You have, oh, there you are celebrating. And there,
Blade.
and there's
My man, she is my good friend.
yeah. So you have lots of friends today, right, in the community?
Yeah,
And those relationships keep you well rooted and help you grow stronger.
right,
Yeah. And also your parents, you have a wonderful relationship with your parents, right?
right,
And that also keeps you well rooted. And then you have really good routines and rhythms in your life. And that really helps you, right? To be
right.
well rooted.
Thank you.
Okay. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give our daily bread. Give us our trespasses. Give those who gift us. It is not temptation. You is from evil. For those who kingdom, power, and glory, never, never. Amen.
For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the beauty of each hour of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human love, brother, sister, parent, child, friends on earth and friends above, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For each perfect gift of thine, to our race so freely given, graces human and divine, flowers of earth and buds of heaven. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
Everybody.
Especially
I love you, Runa.
Bye. Bye,
Bye,
Stephanie.
everybody. Happy
Bye, everyone.
Monday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye,
you.
Maria.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.